Ooh. Just give me a quick second. I'm social mediaizing everything. Let's see. There we go. Okay. We're just social mediaizing everything. I don't know what I'm saying because the mic's not even in front of me. Boom. Ah, crap. And here I was trying to cool my office before the podcast. Well, that'll teach me, won't it? Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing tonight? Boom. And now that I can finally actually look at the chat, hello, Robbins Review World. You have been very active these last few weeks. One would think you're a new fan. And that may or may not be a good thing. I like being Mr. Serious sometimes. So, we've got some somber stuff to talk about, and we've got some fun stuff to talk about. But it's appropriate that this guy shows up first because I want to take care of a little bit of business before we record live. Are you up for this, Alex?
Okay.
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 And that is that, in case you guys haven't followed, we hit 100 subscribers. And we gave you guys 7 days. I'm sorry. I'll once more because I interrupted you.
7 days.
Exactly. I want hashtag 7 days, by the way. We gave you 7 days to give us more suggestions. Those 7 days have passed, and it's a day late, but the poll is up. So please go to the Draken Shadow Twitter, or Alex, if you wouldn't mind giving a direct link to the tweet in the chat.
Thanks for
yes, thank you. Hashtag 7 days.
I'm going to pull up Twitter now.
Oh, Robin, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure we all have a viewpoint on the matter. I know one person who is not able to join us tonight has an opinion because him and me talked about it last night.
Okay. Let's just go to notifications, make it simple.
Because I think you can just directly link the tweet, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it here.
I'm not as educated on my tweeter. I'm about as I'm about as bad as Rick Perry on the tweeters.
Oh God, tonight's not the night to be political.
No. Well, the sad part is that we're going to get a little political, and the reason being is that we're talking business politics, and which is our wheelhouse. So for all the people who are wondering, they're finally going to tell us, where do they stand? No, we're not. That's not what this podcast is about. What this podcast is about is when the guy dresses in a Pikachu outfit and jumps the White House fence. That's what we're about.
Yes, that's what we're about. Or occasionally, if some politics unfortunately sometimes crosses into the industry. It's like they
Yes.
say, two things are certain in life: death and taxes. Taxes I usually file under politics, so there you go.
Death would also be a political issue.
True, death can indeed be political.
Yes.
Okay. Can't seem to.
And I would actually dare say that there are three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and if you play Contra, you know what you're walking into.
That's true.
Or if you want, you can insert Dark Souls into that.
Okay. No, I can't seem to copy. It only wants to ever copy directly to a tweet.
Okay. Give me a second and let me see if I can get the direct tweet.
Or let me just try.
Anyway, we would like you guys to cast your vote so that we can, because in 7 days, please again. Thank you. We will be taking that poll down and we will take its decision and go from there. So there will be another poll after that. Let's see. Here it is.
Two things I don't get about Twitter. No share function, no direct link to a share for a tweet, and no edit tweet. Come on, Twitter.
Copy link address. Well,
yeah, all it does is copy link address to like tweet and stuff, and I'm like, oh. You know what?
This is one of those things I've never been able to figure out, guys.
Twitter is
here's
ridiculous.
What we're gonna do. Here. Should we just link the poll directly?
Yeah, let's just we can link the poll, or we can link the Dragon Shadow Twitter.
Okay, so here is the poll. And this is the first poll. So we said in the video that we did on Dragon Shadow that there would be two. This is the first one basically saying which video would you guys like? A game video or a vlog? Kind of thing. And then I've given you guys a couple of examples of stuff that's been suggested in those decisions. So let's play suggestions as well as vlogs that people wanted done. I don't know. Now, here's the thing I'm not sure about. When I actually did mess around with Straw Poll, there are a lot of game suggestions. And I think Straw Poll limits me to about 5 or 6 topics that I can put up. So we might actually have to divide them up and then basically put the finalists against each other, kind of thing. If it's games, if it's vlogs, we're not going to have an issue because there aren't too many vlog suggestions.
Yeah.
But if it's game, then we'll probably have to divide them up and put them up against each other and see who wins.
Survey Monkey. I'm going to see if I can find that one poll site that I used last year. Let's see. Because I don't remember how many choices it gave me, or I'm just looking for any free polling site.
I picked Straw Poll just because it got recommended to me because of the Twitter integration. So at that point, I'm going, oh, cool, because that's where I wanted to put the poll. So at that point, I did the Straw Poll. If we want to do something else, then we can do that. But and we do have a few things to talk about. Thankfully, we've got some silly, but we've got lots of crap to delve into. Well, first of all, you got the numbers wrong, Robin.
Yeah, that's 4,000 hours.
Yeah, it's not 40,000.
Yeah. 40,000
would be impossible. I think you'd have to be PewDiePie to get 40,000 hours.
Yeah, you'd have to really be up there to get those kinds of numbers.
But it's not like we don't understand your plight. We don't understand your situation. We ourselves are small YouTubers, and YouTube's decision, which we will get into in the podcast, affects us too.
What's up, Atlas?
And trust me, this has been a topic that's been brought up a couple of times. Me and Alex have talked about it. I think the only person I haven't talked to about it, aside from in our Facebook group, is Romney. And that's just because Romney's pretty easy to read on what he thinks on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, your message got cut off. I have a feeling you had a good point there, but it got cut off.
Yeah, it's right now all we see is it's your channel. You decide the content. If you don't enjoy what you blank, please fill in the blanks for us, Robin.
Well, I want to fill in the blanks, but I wouldn't fill them in with anything family-oriented. Trust me, guys, you're not the only one that's there. And in fact, that is going to be something that gets brought up tonight. So, because you guys have actually come out, or at least a few of you. This isn't like in droves, but for our fan base, it was a lot. A lot of people actually came out to us and said, "You guys are all YouTubers. How do these new rules affect you? How are you going to go forward? How are you going to continue to do what you love?" I'm just going to point this out for the record. You may get your answer from some of us. You may not, because some of us may not have actually figured that out yet. Because it's just wonderful that YouTube dropped this bomb on us, and I've also. This wouldn't be a Geek News podcast if I didn't come here with at least some controversial opinions, and I do have some here. So we'll obviously get into that.
Yeah,
in the actual
even
podcast.
I'm expecting to be a little controversial tonight.
Yes. Well, controversial in the concept that I hold a lot of people at fault in this situation, and I have no problem stating that they're just as much at fault as YouTube, as anybody else. So I'm going to piss some people off, but frankly, it's something that needs to be heard by everyone. That's a very good point, Robin. If you like, because you have to be able to get behind the content. If you don't get behind the content, how do you expect your audience to? It's actually funny. Like, one of the things that might get brought up, I don't know. I didn't put it in our agenda, but somebody sent to me a Polygon article about like a lot of YouTube streamers, a lot of YouTubers dealing with crippling burnout. And they sent it to me because they knew about the vacation that I took last year, because I dealt with my own share of crippling burnout, and how they're doing it. One of the things that I actually found very interesting. I don't know, Alex, did you read that article?
No, I haven't gotten to it yet, but it
Go
did
read
remind.
it. Yeah. Go read it. You're gonna like it. The one thing in particular that I'd point out that it goes into your point, Robin, is PewDiePie was one of the people that was interviewed, and I don't know which Let's Play he was talking about. He got the articles vague, but there was a Let's Play that he did that he didn't want to do, that he didn't enjoy, and he had to force himself to play it, and he had to force himself to be him, kind of thing. And at that point, that just adds to the burnout that just made it worse. He wasn't enjoying what he was doing. And what's even worse about that is he always had the feeling that like maybe that 10% of his fan base that knew him really, really well knew he was doing that. And at that point, like, if your fan base knows that you're doing that, they can just unsubscribe to you, because at that point, how else are they supposed to take it other than you're not enjoying it, and therefore why should they? Or you're selling out, kind of thing, and therefore you don't care about what your content is. And that's another thing too. And people might get mad at me tonight, but I'm sick and tired of the YouTube definition of sellout, and we're going to get into that too, because the bottom line is I know it's a dirty word on YouTube that you do it for the money. As a dad with one kid and another on the way, You can be the starving artist all you want,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually you have to put food on the table.
Eventually, you got to pay your bills.
Yes. So money, I hate to tell you guys, but words to live by. I'm actually going to bring this out to the chat. Does anybody know what Tanstaffel is?
No.
Tanstaffel is simple anagram for, or I don't know the actual term, but a simple thing for there is no such thing as a free lunch.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Somebody paying for it somewhere. And in our case, we have to put food on the table. We have to pay our bills. Because otherwise, you are in, I don't know, Alex's position where you're working a job that I don't think you hate it completely, but you don't want to work it. You'd want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, it's just, I love the fact that on YouTube, it's and Twitter to some extent too, the fact that you want to earn money is a dirty word. No, it's not. It's common sense. It's the way the world works. You worked your butt off. I mean, Alex, you just barely put up a couple of videos.
Yeah.
Your next 10 favorite anime, a couple of reviews. You worked your butt off to put those videos up.
Yeah, I work hard. That's what I'm definitely going to get into.
To expect to get some kind of compensation. And I know that a lot of people will bounce back to me and go, well, it's YouTube. Our applause and our likes are your compensation. That's great and all. But again, you can't be the starving artist forever.
Yeah. I mean, there are the people who do work a pretty decent 9-to-5er, and YouTube is purely their hobby. And great, good on them. That's fine, because that's what they get out of it. There are
one of our guys, Brenton, he does that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and that's what they want to get out of this platform. That's what they want to do. But for people like myself, or even Romney to an extent, who've studied visual media, studied filmmaking, this is sort of another avenue we're exploring. Whether we'll make this our true full-time calling or not remains to be seen, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah, well, but it's something that we decided to do. So at that point, again, it's not a dirty word to expect some kind of compensation, because eventually you have bills to pay. And if you don't think, funniest thing is, this YouTubers and a couple of other people get called sellouts. I don't see anybody screaming to Tom Cruise that he's a sellout. And for good, dude, he's for as much as we've mocked him, and we've mocked him, he's earned his place in his craft, and therefore has earned the paychecks that he gets.
Yes. He's earned the ability to jump on Oprah's couch. Boy, that is such a dated reference.
He's earned the right to jump on our couch.
Yes.
And hell, I'd tape it. Let's see. I'm a simple subscriber. I watch anything: football, sci-fi games, music, cats, travel blogs, beauty. But it gets boring watching Primrose characters over and over again. We need to win the lottery. Well, that ain't happening anytime soon. I hate to tell you that. The lottery is a pipe dream. Correction. The lottery where no one's a winner.
I was adding on to it.
Because when you get your big amount of cash, there are two things in life that are certain, right, Alex?
Yep. Taxes.
Yep. And taxes for the lottery are big.
I think
by the way, how you doing?
I think that depends if you take lump sum versus installments, but yeah, taxes are taxes. So sorry, go ahead.
I've heard both ways, because the taxing on lottery is pretty insane.
Yep.
So yeah, we're all in such good spirits, right?
I'm okay.
Indeed.
Really.
I actually feel bad because you were the one that actually found out first, and then you brought it to us, Romney.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get this email?
Yeah, I got the email, but I was deep in like a Grumps binge-a-thon when you texted me, Adam. So I wasn't actively on my email. It was like full screen, just watching YouTube videos when you texted me.
Mm-hmm.
I found out when I was trying to fill a punching bag base with sand.
I'm selling my comic books, my Jar Jar Binks keychain. Well, you should sell that anyway. And D&D stuff now that I'm not getting ad revenue. Yeah, this is stuff that you actually have to think about. Is holy crap, like the amazing collection that is great to look at in your videos. Well, if you're not at that wonderful 1K, it doesn't really mean a whole lot aside from stuff in your shot. We're just so happy with YouTube. I don't know. I'm almost tempted to bring it to you guys. Like, should we start? Because in our agenda, we're starting with YouTube. Should we start with it or should we end with the depressing?
We might
I'd
as well
say
start.
might as well start with it. It's what everyone is thinking about.
Get the
It's
depressing
the
out.
top
Yeah.
story.
Get it out. So we're gonna have some fun with that. Ah, geez. Okay, let me just make sure I'm out of everything else. And then just before we get started, I just want to remind people once again, in case you didn't know, me and Alex actually run a Let's Play channel called Drac and Shadow. And over the holidays, it hit 100 subscribers. And we just barely put out a video saying that you had I'm sorry, do it again, Alex.
7 days
to give us suggestions. Those days have passed, and now the first poll is up. And so the link is in the chat. If we need to, then we'll refresh the link. Make sure to cast your vote for what we will be doing for our 100 subscriber video. Because we would like to hear from you guys, because you only have... Got to work on the cues, Alex. Got to work on the cues.
Sorry, I was watching something. 7 days
for that first poll. So seven days from today, since we came out a day late. Right, Alex?
That's right.
That work? Okay. All right. Let me know when you guys are good to go.
Okay, ready.
Sound speed.
Here we go. Oh, uh-oh. Why do you always set things up differently than what I want? Oh, geez. Holy moly. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix. Mic check, 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 check. That is a lot better. Okay. All right, let me just get things set up again. And 3, 2, 1. Oh. It's hard not to want to, like, it's hard to start up with adrenaline tonight because I know what we're walking into. Welcome everybody to the, let me try that again, people, because this is a live recording. Welcome everybody once again to Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk the week's events in Geek. I am your host, Adam Mickelson. I hope everybody's had an awesome week. I know that a lot of people have not. But hopefully we'll be able to fix that for you. I hope everybody is doing well despite the news that we're about to talk about. And I am your host, Adam Mickelson, and I am being joined by my panel of fellow YouTubers, fellow geeks, fellow awesome dudes in general. And we're going to start things off with Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, of From the Shelf, Rhapsody in Cinema, Monster Clash, and whatever he decides to just film out just on an ADD moment. How you doing, Romney?
Well, doing okay. Some people who are watching the live stream may notice that I suddenly have the black backdrop, and that's because, well, I've recently moved into a larger bedroom in my home, so I have a lot more space.
Yay!
And so there's been that, but it's also been kind of a stressful week, especially since I've been spending my past 5 nights filling a sandbag base with sand, because you think with the company that gives you the option to fill it with either water or sand, you think they would give you a larger hole to pour the sand in, but nope.
Apparently not. I try to think of like, what would he need a sandbag for? But okay, that works. And then we're also being joined by Alex, the Shadow Blazer. He is joining us from out of the shadows, out of the warm and loving embrace of Black Rose, to be able to join us and talk about some really stupid shit that happened this week. Alex, how you doing?
All things considered, I'm actually pretty good. Work kind of sucked this week, but I got 2 videos up, so I'm proud of myself for that.
Exactly. That's exactly the way to look at it. Is like you got crap done, and that's all you could ever possibly hope for, because, well, circumstances this week were kind of out of a lot of our control. And as people can probably tell, our top story tonight, as we get into it, is I really wish YouTube would stop getting in my agenda. I really would, because they keep on doing stuff that just pisses me off. And sometimes it's them, and sometimes it's other creators. But tonight, it was definitely YouTube, as in order to appease advertisers and be able to maybe get some of them back after all of the controversies that have happened with Logan Paul and YouTube Kids and PewDiePie, and even more than that, I'm pretty sure that since a lot of our listener base actually do have YouTube channels of their own, they probably got this email, which was that they are changing their partner program requirements, where before all you needed was a bare minimum of 10,000 views. I think that was what the requirement was, wasn't it? 10,000 views or 10,000 minutes? Which one was it?
10,000 views.
Yeah.
10,000 views, and you could qualify for the partner program, which would allow you to monetize videos. They have since changed that policy. Not only do you need the 10,000 views, you need 4,000 hours of watch time on your analytics. And on top of that, you need a bare minimum of 1,000 subscribers. So thanks, Logan Paul. Thanks, PewDiePie. Thanks, YouTube Kids. You've punched us all in the collective dick. Because of your actions, smaller YouTubers like myself, like Stephen Romney, like Alex Short, like Brenton Volley, now have problems in their lives, especially when we were doing only that which we loved. So I think we need to set the scene here just a little bit. The way that we actually found out actually came from Stephen Romney, of all places. So I guess the place to start is here. So Stephen Romney, how did you find out?
Well, I found out because, as I mentioned, I was filling a punching bag base with sand, because it's a lot heavier than water. And out of the frustration of struggling to get sand in, I decided, okay, I'll take a little break, check my email, relax a little bit. And what do I happen to find upon opening my email? This little message from YouTube saying, hey, we're changing our partner program. You're no longer eligible.
Yes. Well, technically, we're eligible up until February 20th. February 20th is when the new system kicks in. And then at that point, we would immediately get kicked out of the partner program because we do not meet the new requirements. Which is funny, because I know that they've modified the requirements at least once or twice since I think all of us have been partners. And they only affected people who were trying to get into the partner program after that. Anybody who was in it was not affected. Well, not so much anymore. So, yeah. After Romney got this wonderful news, he then proceeded to let us all know. And I think I was the first one that caught the message, and I checked my email right off the bat, and I had one from YouTube saying the exact same thing. Needless to say, I'm surprised there isn't a hole in my wall, because I was that pissed. In fact, for a solid 48 hours, I was that pissed at YouTube. And frankly, I had somewhere, it's on one of these USB drives, a probably 2-page long document of a long tirade that I was going to read on the show tonight. I'm not going to now, because that would be redundant at this point, and it's basically hammering the same thing for 2 pages. And I was going to send to YouTube. Well, that wouldn't solve anything, now would it? Well, to make me feel better, That's really all I care about. And then Alex, how did you find out?
You actually texted me. I did kind of mention this, that I was like knee deep into my unwinding period for the night because I had like an hour or two before bed. So I was knee deep in like a Game Grumps binge. Just had it on full screen, just watching, enjoying. You texted me that our Draken Shadow channel is losing monetization. You explained it, so I minimized the window for a moment to look at the Geek news feed. Then I checked my email, and yeah, I got the same email, got the same message.
Yep, and also our partner channel, which is Draken Shadow, also got the message, which is really sad because we are actually celebrating 100 subscribers on that thing, and YouTube decided to come in and well deflate our balloon, as it were, because we were so happy about being able to hit that milestone, and now it's like, oh well, screw you. We know that this is a milestone for you, but it's not for us. And so let's actually, I want to start with a little bit of positives before we start getting into the negative, because I have a feeling we're going to be hashing a lot of the same points together. But there's at least one positive I want to get out of this, and that is I want to specifically thank those that I've seen on YouTube and Twitter that either are actively trying to get people to group up together to do subscriptions, to do likes, to do watch time on the videos, because I love the fact that the smaller YouTubers who are in essence getting screwed, they are banding together to say, no, we're going to work together and we're going to try and beat the system. We're going to try and get ourselves up to those minimum requirements. And so I do want to send out, like, that is a positive. This is one of those few times where I've seen the YouTube community, the Twitter community get together, and we've actually seen some of that on my channel as well as Draken Shadow. I don't know about you guys, but you know, at that point, like, what else can you do aside from, okay, well, I'll reach out and I'll explain my frustration on the matter. And because of that, I've been able to see some of this on my channel. So thank you guys for stepping out. And some of the people that actually did this are perfectly safe in this system. Like they're not going to get booted from the partner program, and they're putting themselves out there to get other people up to where they are. So thank you. I thought that was really awesome to see that this happen as a reaction. That being said, let's dive into the negative a little bit, because I don't know unless you guys have other positive stuff that's happened since this announcement has gone through.
I suppose for positive in my end, or at least the way I'm seeing it, I'm trying to see a bit of a silver lining here. Is it is frustrating, and it's hard for the smaller channels like my own. For me personally, most of my videos, while I was eligible for monetization, I wasn't really actually making money off of them for various reasons or another. Sometimes I just can't. Other times it's like, I don't have the base, so I'm not bothering too much. But anyway, at the same time, the goalpost has been moved, but it's at least it's not as horrendous as I feared it could be after the Fallout. I was kind of waiting for another Fallout after Logan Paul. I was wondering, great,
I think this is pretty much that Fallout. I really do.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting to see what's going to happen now at Apocalypse 3.0. What? So, and is this bad? Yeah. Is it the worst? I don't think so. For me personally, just looking at my own analytics right now, well, I'm already at over 16,000 hours watch time. I'm just a little under halfway towards the 1,000 goal. So for me personally, I just see this as okay, disheartening, a little discouraging, a little, but at the same time, it reminds me I can't give up. I got to keep working, and I got to keep just working hard to build my base slowly but surely. So I guess in that, it's just motivation for me to work harder and work harder.
And frankly, that's the way that you should look at it, kind of thing. I'm just going to point that out because we have a couple of other smaller creators in there that are probably just as pissed as I am, just as pissed as Alex is. But the bottom line is that this is kind of the attitude that we all need to take, is like, yeah, sure, YouTube just threw sand in your eyes, but you gotta clench up and you gotta keep it going. kind of thing. So, Stephen Romney, what about you? Have you been able to get any positives out of this?
Well, not so much in the ways of anyone specifically banding together. It just more or less affirmed something that I mentioned in the year-end vlogs at the end of 2017, where I already had made it clear that YouTube could no longer be a priority. And so I'm looking at that and I'm just thinking, well, it's a good thing I came to that decision ahead of time. So it softened the blow, to say the least.
At the very least, yeah. I mean, because you're also kind of in the same boat where, like, you work, and I don't know if people actually get this when they watch some of Romney's videos, but like he puts a lot of time and effort into production. So at that point, this is a big hurt for him. This is a big hurt for a lot of people. Like the YouTube animators were already suffering from the whole watch time deal, or what was it? Watch duration. So like the bigger videos were killing them. There have been things that have happened over the last few years that have just slowly hurt different demographics on YouTube. And now this is hurting a lot more, kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a frustrating situation, but I kind of am where you're at, Romney, too, is that like I even made that kind of statement when I did kind of a year-end vlog of my own and just said, look, I can't necessarily rely on this. And that's simply because of recent situations in my life. I've got another kid on the way. But let's go ahead and get into the negative here, starting with, I don't know how many times I've gotten this question. Is YouTube in the right for doing this? The sad reality is, yes, they are. The sad reality is that this is probably how they needed to answer the situations like Logan Paul, even though this doesn't technically answer it. But we all knew that there was going to need to be a proverbial tightening of the belt from YouTube, either on its policies or on its subscriber base or something like that. The unfortunate reality is that once again, a big YouTuber screws the little guy. That's the best way to look at this, and there's no easy way to say it other than that. So is YouTube in the right for doing this? Absolutely. And I hate to be the guy to say that, but they are. This is one of the things that I have, and here's the thing. I think it's only one. I think they've got other things planned, and they're just waiting for the next big problem to happen so that they can be justified in doing so. Otherwise, they'll just do it anyway. But just quickly going with the panel, is YouTube in the right to you guys, or, you know, where are you standing on that?
Yeah, YouTube's in the right just on the virtue because this is their company, it's their right, their property, and we all just kind of got to live with it. And another bit of consolation, it's not as though the particularly big channels are getting off totally scot-free either, because there's also some tightening about how the preferred partners are evaluated now, that they're going to be under a little more scrutiny when it comes to getting those high-end, high-tier preferred ads. And
I can never remember like the bare minimum to get into that preferential. Is it millions of subscribers at that point? Or is it
I'm looking through the blog to see if it says that.
Yeah,
I don't actually know.
Do that really quick because I can't remember what the minimum requirements to get into that preferred is. Because you know what? That's a good idea. Because in some cases, a lot of the major issues that have happened this year are from preferred YouTubers. And therefore, the fact that it's coming down to us, it sucks. But, you know, that's the way it's been. While he's looking for that, Romney, where are you standing with it? Is YouTube in the right?
Well, I guess the best way to look at it's not so much an issue of right or wrong from a moral standpoint. It is YouTube's right as a business to change its policies because, unfortunately, we still have to abide by the TOS because we're at YouTube's mercy. So it's not really a case of right or wrong. YouTube has the authority and the ability to do so. And given that they're trying to court advertisers, I can't say I entirely blame them. But it feels like a misguided reaction. It's very much like a reaction to it's kind of like they know what the problem is, but they didn't really think through how a policy like this would actually address the problem. Now, granted, they brought up how if people were to hit these new guidelines, that they would be further scrutinized before being put on the partners program under their new guidelines. But even then, it just, like you said, makes it that much harder for the little guy to get in when they should really be reevaluating a lot of the larger YouTubers, which are the ones causing half the problems.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that they're doing a lot of that stuff, but now that we can actually get into our frustrations and whatnot, there's a lot of people that I find at fault for this situation. And I have no problem calling a lot of them out, because the bottom line is that as bigger YouTubers, it is not only your, like, you have your own responsibilities to yourself. I have I have that respect, and you have bills to pay, and you're trying to get all of these things off the ground. But I've always had the feeling that, like, YouTube needed to hold you to a higher standard. And the main reason being is that since you're the people who made it in YouTube, you needed to be an example as to the lesser YouTubers of not only like a success story, but also being able to follow the policies, being able to follow all of the stuff that YouTube does. Does that mean that you're not within the right to criticize YouTube when they do something stupid? Absolutely not. Because, well, if that was the case, then Phil DeFranco, I don't know how on earth he would still have a job on YouTube, because that's literally what he does. That's what Total Biscuit's done. That's what a lot of the 6-digit subscribers YouTubers have done. And they've actually made it like their goal to help people get around the system, to be able to handle mass flaggings, being able to handle people trying to shut down their channel for whatever reason. That being said, I found it absolutely funny that a majority of them were silent, and I have a lot of them followed. I have a lot of them on my Twitter. A lot of them were silent when incidents like PewDiePie happened last year, when incidents like CoxCon happened last year, when incidents like VidCon happened last year, when incidents like Logan Paul happened this year. It's your job to be an example, and you also need to be looking at some of the people that are standing up on that pedestal with you and saying, not cool, man, not cool. And some of you were dead silent on the issue. So you know what? I find your ass at fault just as much as I find Logan Paul. Because the bottom line is that if some of you guys had actually stepped the F up, Logan Paul wouldn't have happened. If YouTube had stepped the F up, Logan Paul wouldn't have happened. And I'm also going to say that some of us smaller YouTubers were some of the people that also supported Logan Paul in his antics. You're at fault too. Okay? The situation about this, and as crappy as it is, we're all technically at fault. There's something that all of us technically could have done to prevent this situation. And you know what? Now we're biting it in the butt because we didn't do anything on the matter, even me. And I spoke out about a lot of this stuff, but in some cases, it ended at the podcast. I should have spoken out on Twitter and called PewDiePie an idiot. I should have done a lot of things, but that's where it ended. I'm just pointing that out as simply as I possibly can. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I'm not sure that about your statements there, but I do kind of want to back up, when you said the larger YouTubers who never spoke up. I think this could be really attributed back to, I think it was like 2016, when, all of a sudden you had all these YouTubers coming out and saying, YouTube's changed and it's all about the drama now. And I think that's kind of the problem there, is where it started here. Is you had a lot of these kind of big YouTubers, and like Markiplier's like, YouTube's changed and it's all about the drama, and right. And I think I remember Pat Contry and Pat the NES Punk on his podcast kind of pointed out there's sort of this weird lingering hypocrisy behind it. And he kind of said, of course they're saying that because they're worried that one day they're going to be in the crosshairs of this stuff. And I think that's why. I think that's why people why these really big channels who, besides say Philip DeFranco, who's always very vocal because he's a news channel, had never really stepped up to the plate when shit like this kept hitting the fan over and over and over again.
I get that, but to look at this in a real sense, if somebody was going to change the situation, was it going to be the smaller YouTuber that YouTube was going to listen to, or was it going to be the big one, the one that's actually earning them the advertiser money that they're pointing to Google and saying, look, we got this guy. So I appreciate you, Mark, for saying that, but...
Yeah, and that's my point. It's because these channels all kind of hid behind this veil of, we don't want the controversy and the drama on this site. They kind of allowed it to by their own, allowed it to fester like this. And that's
as an entertainer, though. Yeah, but the problem is that as an entertainer, Alex, you're kind of finding this out because you're more of a I want to be behind the scenes guy. But when you had to step in front of the camera, you put yourself in the crosshairs.
Yeah, and that's my point, because it's like they weren't willing to, well, put themselves in the crosshairs as entertainers. And, well, unfortunately, because YouTube, we are in this sort of weird, awkward quasi-states where we're essentially kind of co-owners, not really, but more contractors of the site. So it's up to us to be kind of the caretakers and this platform. And it's like, I'm trying to think of a better analogy than this for it. I guess it's like YouTube's a sandbox. We all got to play in it eventually. But when we misbehave, then the parents got to step in. And it's like we can either all play nice and play in the sandbox freely, or the parents can all get involved and control what we play.
Exactly. And
if that makes any sense.
And one of the things that did absolutely piss me off is that the second that the Logan Paul situation happened, I actually went back and looked into my Twitter feed, and the only ones that I actually saw make legitimate statements, aside from, and I'm talking the day that video was up, I had two guys. I know that Phil DeFranco made a statement, and I know that Gaiji Goomba made a statement. Everybody followed a day later after the video was down. And so at that point,
after the controversy erupted. Yeah.
That's on you, because the bottom line is that if we're small YouTubers, guys, like at that point, Logan's not going to look at us and go, you can't judge me. You don't even have merch sales. You don't even have this. You don't even have that. You don't understand the pressure that's on me. What should have happened is that he should have had 10, not coworkers, but 10 colleagues literally look him in the eye and go, that's uncool, man. That's not how that should have gone. And the way that I see this is that, YouTube does eventually have to step in. Romney's right. This is their company. They have the right to be able to do all this stuff. But as a community, and I don't usually use these words that often, but here it especially comes into play. As a community, we can police ourselves. We can actually look at each other and go, yeah, that's a bad idea. Maybe you ought to take that crap down. And that's another issue that's happening a lot on YouTube. So unfortunately, this is our penalty. We didn't step up, and now YouTube has to do it for us. That's the unfortunate reality of this. But the next thing that I actually want to get into, because we could literally we could bitch all night about how YouTube has screwed us, about how YouTube has made things harder for us. But thankfully, you guys actually have come to us and said, well, this is really frustrating and this is depressing. How does this affect you guys? Because they know that we are a podcast of 4 to 5 YouTubers. How does this affect us in the long run? And does it change anything, any resolutions or any goals that we had for 2018? Before I get into my stuff, I'm going to go ahead and go into Alex. Like, how does this affect you, and how are you going to be approaching your channel in 2018 because of this?
I don't think it affects me too terribly much. I got to be a bit of the old curmudgeon here and say, I remember when YouTube was just purely a hobbyist platform. Yeah. Yes, I mean, it is great that people have actually truly been able to make a living out of their videos. I'm not trying to be the fall on your sword starving artist here. It's great. People can make a living off of YouTube. But at the same time, I remember the days when this was just a hobbyist platform. And even then, I've been seeing the days where most people don't make a lot of money off of YouTube alone. So it just means for me, if I want to consider in the future beginning the process of monetizing videos, if I can make that milestone achievement, who knows? That just means, okay, I know I can't rely on YouTube. I definitely got to make sure I can look elsewhere and not put all my eggs in one basket.
Yep. It's one of the things that I've actually been really appreciative of, because not only am I thankful for the people who are trying to get people up to 1,000 subscribers, you guys are doing an amazing thing too. But the other thing that I was really happy about is a lot of those bigger creators stepped up and said, look, this is what we've had to do to be able to make all of this work. And they basically reached out, like and I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. You say that you do that a lot, but I follow you guys. I know you don't. So at that point, I was really welcoming to see a lot of you guys finally practice what you preach and put out what you had to do in order to make things work. In particular, the ones that I'm going to point out are Gaijin Goomba. Goomba, I appreciate you, but you're not always giving people advice. I know from personal experience. But I did like the fact that the day after this got announced, you were out there on Twitter and saying, this is what you actually need to do. If you're relying solely on YouTube, this is not going to work for you. The other one that I'm also going to hold up is Jim Caddick, aka Cat Icarus, because he actually had a lot of common sense that he was putting out on YouTube, which is simply like, he's been doing this for a long time. And before Cat Icarus was even working, he was working his butt off in his job. And he was basically trying to do whatever he could to make Cat Icarus work. Cat Icarus didn't work out for him until a couple of years later. And then he could do that full time. Before then, he had to go and pay his dues, and he had to go to the smaller sites. He had to get his stuff seen. So I do like the fact that they did that, which kind of goes into your thought, Alex. So Romney, how does this affect your channel? Since you, as you have already stated, you did a year-end vlog saying you don't know how much you can actually rely on YouTube this year.
Yes, and honestly, it hasn't really changed my opinions, because the thing is that when I started out, I made the mistake of basically playing the game, trying to have something up every single week, trying to maintain a consistent schedule, whereas my goal for this year, and it hasn't really changed, is simply quality over quantity. Rather than rushing to get as many videos out as possible, the most people can expect, barring some exceptions down the road, is basically once a month at the most. Just, again, going for quality rather than quantity because, well, quantity clearly didn't work for me. So if I go for more quality, the audience will find its way.
And, I mean, for the people who want to say, like, that's dumb or whatever, ask Peanut Butter Gamer how dumb that is. Because that's his strategy. Like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I'm subscribed to him. I don't know if you guys are. But he has, like, a schedule of putting something out every other month, roughly. Like, he tries to do a once a month thing and it ends up being every other month. I don't know how many times I've seen a Zelda month delayed because of it, or because of the way he does things. And really, that's kind of the way that a lot of us need to look at it. Gaming channels, it's not necessarily that simple unless you're going to go the Game Grumps route and actually add live action segments kind of thing. Then it gets a little bit more cumbersome. But it is definitely something that we all need to consider. Quality over quantity. Yes, it's great and all that you can put out 6 videos a day. Are all of those 6 videos a day. Are all of those videos going to be worth it to watch? And somebody's already going to point out to, the 12-year-old boy is going to come out and go, yes, because PewDiePie's awesome. Okay. You're not the example I'm going for. Because you will watch everything that's like a pig with a trough. You will watch everything that's thrown to you, kind of thing. But for some of us who actually want quality work, that takes time. That takes effort. That's why I'm so thankful that the Peanut Butter Gamers, the Linkaras, the Channel Awesomes all exist, because that's what they do, and they know how much actual effort goes into a filming process. And so it's one of those things where I'm very proud to be a friend of Stephen Romney, because I know the hard work that he goes through to put videos up for you guys. For me, it's been a little bit harder. Like I said, for the first 48 hours, I was pissed. I was legitimately pissed because, as I've said, I've got a wife, I've got a kid, I've got another kid on the way. And already this year I said that I'm going to have to step back from YouTube a little bit to focus on more financial ventures to actually earn some money. And I can't be the starving artist forever. Eventually, if people want to call me a sellout, you're more than welcome to, because food's got to get put on the table and bills got to be paid and diapers have to be put on your kids' butts. Okay? And them's expensive. So at that point already, I was already saying at the beginning of the year, I'm going to have to change things to accommodate this. I was originally not going to change my YouTube schedule. I may have to now. Because the bottom line is that for as consistent as, say, me and Alex are on Draken Shadow, that consistency may not necessarily be the way to do things anymore. And simply because of time and because of effort and because of other things that have to go on. Alex has a job to attend to. So will I. Kind of thing. The other thing, too, that got asked is, how is this going to affect the podcast? Because the podcast records live on YouTube. I haven't really brought this up with my fellow panelists. Simply because I've been trying to find answers myself to be able to bring to them. And I don't have any. We love and appreciate our YouTube audience. We love and appreciate our Radio SLCC audience that came over to YouTube from there. And I have to level with you guys. Eventually, for me to be able to do this, the podcast does need to make some kind of money. And if that means that I have to consider options outside of YouTube, I will bring you guys in the second that I can. But I have to consider those options now. I may have been able to relax for a little bit and consider them 2 months down the line. Now I actually have to consider them. And consider bringing in brand new eyes on the product, which might have to happen. My only promise to you guys is simply this. You will be kept in the loop, as you have from Radio SLCC to YouTube. You will be kept in the loop, and I will tell you exactly where to go when we figure all that stuff out. I haven't figured all that out. I'm still figuring all of this stuff out. Alex and Romney are both giving me a look of like, don't speak for us kind of thing. But I mean, am I speaking out of turn?
No,
not entirely.
No. So at that point, like, I'm considering other places just to be able to get more eyes on the product. The other thing that I am considering, even though it's been brought up to us, I don't know how many times, is that Patreon might actually have to be something that has to be considered for the podcast to be able to thrive. I don't know how that's going to work, but now I'm looking at that not just with the podcast, but also with my YouTube channel. Because here's the thing. I love what I do, and I love the people that have come around me and the network that's come to enjoy my work. It is hard work. And if I'd be absolutely lying to you guys if I didn't say that, yes, I did want at least some kind of compensation to feed my family with. And I don't think that's selling out, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't know why on Twitter and YouTube, especially these last few days, selling out and wanting money for your hard work is a bad word. I don't understand that whatsoever.
It's a large systemic problem, especially here in Utah, not just with YouTube, but with artists in general. So sadly, it's nothing new. But yeah, it's like the idea of an artist getting paid for their work is just so mind-blowing to some of these people. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I don't get it, because the bottom line is that one of the reasons I have respect for actors like Robert Downey Jr. is not only can they do really good in their job, but they have the paycheck to prove it, kind of thing. People might also know I do another podcast on pro wrestling. That's guys literally paid to throw themselves at the ground as hard as they possibly can. And I have no problem with them earning a paycheck out of it. But the second that they immediately become the guy that needs to earn money, holy crap, their Twitter just goes ablaze with, I can't believe you want money. You're just supposed to be there to entertain me. These guys are literally getting paid to throw their butts to the ground. I get that people love the starving artist, but eventually the artist has to stop starving in order for you to enjoy him longer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to call me a sellout, if you guys want to call the podcast a sellout, you want to call all these, I don't know what to tell you aside from this might not work out for you. And I'm sorry to say that. But the bottom line is that I got to earn money. Alex eventually has to. Do you know how much entertaining content these guys have given me over the years? I was just me when this podcast started. These guys have done so much entertaining content. Don't you think they ought to get paid too? Because I do. If I could do it right now, I'd do it. So that's my bottom line on the matter. Is like, I don't want to have to go down these roads, and if I do, I will be the first one to let you know. But I can't be the starving artist for you guys. I can't be the dancing monkey and only get bananas kind of thing. I eventually need to feed my family. I need to feed myself. I need to take care of myself. So I think that's pretty much a good wrap up on this story. Like, we've been talking about it for a good 40 minutes, unless there's something you guys want to add. The one thing I will add is I will put a link on this somewhere to a Polygon article that somebody linked to me today on a lot of prominent YouTubers having to suffer from horrible, horrible burnout. And part of the reason that they're suffering from this is because of the schedule that they have to maintain on YouTube because of situations like this. So I might share that just so that people can understand, like, from the other side of the webcam, like, how difficult this can be in some cases, kind of thing. But anyway, final thoughts on it.
Well, I don't really have so much a final thought so much as an image that I think summarizes everyone's attitudes towards YouTube right now.
Okay. I will put the image in our RSS feed. I've had issues putting images in there, but I will find a way to link this and put it up.
Yeah, that's all I can really say to summarize my emotions. And
for those who can't or don't want to go look it up on the RSS feed, it's basically two Japanese schoolgirls giving massive middle fingers to YouTube. And,
well, they will get an understanding of what I'm showing because it actually ties into this week's Romney's recommendation.
Oh, good. That'll be even better. So, and I love the fact that some of the people on our live chat, by the way, welcome, are even giving us suggestions for it, and it looks like very much understand our situation on the matter. And thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that this is affecting you guys too, but it's the way it goes. So final thoughts, Alex, or are we good?
Well, yeah. I don't know how you would respond to this, but another thing that always irks me when people have to kind of complain about when YouTube does dumb policy changes is like, oh, I'm so sorry, go get a real job. Well, okay, some of us do.
So the Alex Bauer response, basically?
Yeah. It's just like, oh, look, I get it. YouTube is hardly working a 12-hour construction job, or, in say the case of my dear mother working 12 hours as a nurse, right? And we definitely appreciate those who put in the world, who put in those kinds of labors for us. That's, we definitely do. And, YouTube is just a passion job that some of us want to pursue, or at least pursue as a side thing to make a little extra cash. Yeah. I do say sometimes there are definitely some YouTubers out there, like the Paul brothers, who should indeed get a real job, because if they had a real job, a 9-to-5 job, then they probably wouldn't make such jackasses out of themselves every day. So,
yeah. See, here's the thing. Like, I can agree with you on the matter, but I will also applaud the Paul brothers for succeeding, because I think that's awesome. I think that if you are actually able to make that work, great, good on you. What you do with it, yeah, I can call you an idiot right after. I have no problem doing that if I think you did stupid things. But I mean, for all the people who's like, go get a real job, I like to point out Jacksepticeye to them, because Jack literally started the way our buddy Brinton has. This is a side project. This is not what he wants to do for a job. And Jack eventually made it a job. And I don't see why that's a problem. I don't see, like, you know, when you say go get a real job, I literally look at people and just go, what, you have one? Because pretty much the way I look at it is whenever you apply something that you're good at, that you're talented, that you're passionate about, and you apply it to a market, that's a real job. Alex is really good writing scripts and a camera and using a camera and directing people. Are you saying that's not a real job? Because I think Steven Spielberg would disagree. Just throwing it out there. I think my eternal nemesis Michael Bay would disagree with you.
If you're going to use YouTube as a primary source of your entertainment now, and so many people are with cord cutters, then you have no right to go tell the source of your entertainment to go get a real job. And yes, again, like I said in the pre-show, of course, we acknowledge that there are people who do YouTube purely as their hobby platform. That's great because that's the way they want to approach it. But there are those of us who either approach it to a more serious extent, or people who do want to make it their full-time job to entertain you. So don't go tell people on YouTube to go get a real job, because this is their job to entertain you.
Look at it this way, okay? You go to a job. You go to apply to a job. What's the first thing you hand in at the interview? A resume.
A resume.
Okay. How do you think that was supposed to happen in the entertainment industry before YouTube? And really think on that for a second, because the bottom line is that there wasn't one. Filmmakers had to go make indie films, which means they had to be the starving artist because nobody was seeing their work except indie festivals.
Yeah, I mean, classic example. Yeah. Kevin Smith shot Clerks at the convenience store where he worked.
Exactly. Or another good example there is like actors. Look, they have to go work the minor community theater jobs first before they can even get seen as acknowledgeable by Hollywood producers. So you have to work, you know, for every job, you have to start in the mailroom. You have to start as a janitor. And this is just how you start in those professions. YouTube is an amazing thing for us because it allows for us to have, heaven forbid, an acting resume, a filmmaking resume that we can then show to other people, prospective people that might sponsor our film and help us get funding so that we can do the bigger projects. That's where YouTube comes in. So for all the people that I literally look at you kind of cross-eyed when you say, go get a real job. I'm like, okay, define that.
Hey,
because by your logic, I could say that you don't have a real job, Mr. Bag Boy at the Harmons.
You know, and once upon a time, sites like YouTube, not really a thing. There have been video sites long before YouTube, but you know, they're like sites like Something Awful. They had premium tiers, and you know, if you wanted to create content for Something Awful, you either had to pay into their program to be accepted, and that's how Vimeo is. That's why Vimeo is very attractive to independent filmmakers.
Yeah,
or of course you could just be a complete consumer of content. But YouTube offers us the chance to all express ourselves, whether we want to be critically analytic and dissect stuff that we love, or just make goofy cat videos all day. So
yeah, and for every one person that wants to make this like a resume kind of thing, there are 10 Logan Pauls who are just looking to be vloggers and looking to be YouTube famous and don't necessarily care about the price that comes along. The reason that I know that exists is because, I mean, we don't see that happen a lot on YouTube, but I mean, look at Twitch. Twitch, look at your YouTube feed at some point and just see how many videos you could find of top 10 failed Twitch channels or banned Twitch channels because they all did something stupid. It's just one of those things that we really wish would happen to YouTube so that we could start policing these guys a little bit more. But I think we've pretty much hit the nail on the head, right?
Yes.
If you guys want to continue to support us, feel free to reach out to us individually or group wise. And like I said, if any ideas come down the line, I will be the first guy to put up a video and just let you guys know that that's going to happen. I'm not going to lie. I have considered something like a Patreon for Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions. I've seen other fellow podcasters do it in the past. It might not necessarily be such a bad idea right off the bat, because here's the thing, it's just a good thing overall. It puts food on the table, plus it actually gets other sponsors to look at us and go, oh, they are a money-making property because a bunch of people like us, kind of thing. But moving on, so we've talked the depressing. Let's actually turn this crap around, shall we?
Okay.
We have a little bit of Nintendo talk tonight, but it's kind of weird. I have no other way to put it aside from this. First of all, the good news is the results are in, and the Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console in December. So for the entire holiday season, Nintendo Switch was the console to be, which good statement considering it was contending with the much vaunted Xbox One X. Okay, so it was contending with that. It was technically contending with PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But it was the best freaking selling console in December. That's awesome. Let's see if I can actually get legitimate ones. So the console sold 1.5 million units within the United States in December. So this is just United States market. That is amazing. That's great numbers for us to all hear, except it does make me worry again, because I remember the Wii days. I remember how the power went to Nintendo's head.
You're worried it's too much of an early plateau?
See, I love Nintendo, but when you feed the beast too much, the beast gets an ego. And that's what, so even though the Wii was great, the later years of the Wii, not so great. So at that point, I'm worried that we'll get, that impending 2008 E3 where all they had to announce was Animal Crossing City Folk. Oh, and Punch-Out. And the vitality sensor, because that worked out right. So at that point, I mean, my thoughts are very clearly stated. Great, good on you. Please don't let the power go to your head, so that we can, move forward and we can still get amazing things on the Switch without you being tyrannical overlords. That would be really great, Nintendo. Humility is a great thing in the gaming industry.
Well, let's be a little fair here, because obviously Nintendo is still very much licking their wounds from the failure of the Wii U. So I mean, obviously you're right. They could very easily get overinflated, get overconfident, get cocky, and of course drop the ball here. But I like to think a little positively that Nintendo has had to swallow the bitter pill from the Wii U, and going forward, they're going to really try and be a little wiser in their marketing decisions and their business strategy. Here's hoping.
And here's the thing too. A few people actually brought this to my attention, including Alex, and a lot of them were asking, okay, is this official? Can we consider this like Nintendo's heyday again? Are we going to see great and amazing things? Is this officially confirming that the new regime at Nintendo is doing things right? I don't know how else to say this other than no.
Yeah, it's still too early to tell at this point, because again, we're still very early on in the Switch's lifespan. And again, like it's the same thing we saw that happened with the Wii and a lot of other Nintendo consoles in the past, where they have really good early runs. But, well, it's still kind of fair to say that we're still kind of in that early adopter phase. It hasn't quite hit that critical mass of everybody basically having a Switch. I mean, I'm still on the fence as, again, disgruntled Wii U owner who is yet to buy a Switch, and that's just because there's nothing available that sold me yet.
Exactly. And the other so into the regime is that we've said this before, and it bears repeating. The NX or the Switch was under Iwata's tenure. Like we know officially its conception, its basic design was being done with Iwata-san, not with I want to say Yamauchi. What was that?
Kinishima.
Thank you. Kinishima is coming in on what remains of Iwata's legacy kind of thing. So at that point, really the way to judge the new regime change at Nintendo is to wait until about, correct me if I'm wrong, Romney, third or fourth year in the Switch's lifespan, and the decisions that get made in that time. And then at that point, we could call it a success or a failure.
I'd even go so far as 5 years.
Yeah, because the bottom line is that he is, the Switch's success is more Iwata than it is Kimishima. Yes, Kimishima advertised the living crap out of it, and I'm glad that he did that, but any good marketing guy would know to do that. Okay? So the bottom line is like, I'm pretty sure, and for as much as it surprises me how much hatred Phil Spencer gets sometimes, and sometimes he's like a very common sense guy, but I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer would do exactly what Kimishima did with the Switch. I'm pretty sure whoever's the head at Sony would do the exact same thing Kimishima did with the Switch. So at that point, what gets judged is basically 3, 4, maybe even 5 years down the line, how many of those third-party developers are still working on your console? How many of them still have active games that are coming to your console, kind of thing? Then we can kind of tell whether or not that's going to be a deal. The other part of that that's hard to determine is the Switch the most dominant console in the market because of this? No. In fact, these numbers aren't surprising to me, and I don't think to anybody else on the panel. Given the amount of hype the Switch had, we knew that it was going to be the holiday seller. Maybe not by these exact numbers, and maybe we thought the Xbox One X would be up there a little bit, but yeah. Because again, when you look at that,
recall, I was a bit skeptical. If you do recall, I was the one a little more skeptical, mostly because of the March release, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, a lot of people have actually brought this up going, well, it's the only new console out there because the Xbox One X is basically the PS4 Pro for Xbox. Yes and no. Some people may have actually waited on getting an Xbox One after hearing the Scorpio announcement and then got the X as their first Xbox console or their first version of the Xbox One. Okay. That could have happened, but we had to consider the X as a viable possibility. A lot of holiday releases were coming out on it, and they were pretty popular. Okay. So the fact that the Switch did that is amazing, considering it came out in March, like Alex said, and it had maybe 2 first-party releases that really anybody cared about, which was Zelda, which was coming out right after, and Mario. Again, it's just, I can't necessarily call Nintendo the dominant console, especially since we're at the very beginning of 2018. Now we can see what the Switch is capable of now that we have the hype train kind of behind us and all of the first party wowness of a Nintendo console behind us in 2017. So it's very difficult to call those sales numbers the ultimate positive thing. And what's really funny is like, I saw this come in from Alex as well as a few others. And then I saw the trailer for our next discussion in Nintendo Talk, Nintendo Labo or Labo. I don't know how they're supposed to say it. And that's immediately when I went. So in case people haven't actually seen this trailer, they hinted at it the day before saying that they have a whole new mode of functionality for the Nintendo Switch that they want to unveil, which they unveiled Nintendo Labo. Labo is basically a means to take a cardboard kit and make a peripheral within it that can work with the Switch's buttons and with the Switch's dynamics. Okay. So the examples that got thrown into that trailer is like, you could see them make a piano with it. You could see them make a backpack that you could do a robot game with. And this is where I literally just hung my head going, oh no, this is Nintendo at their gimmicky finest.
It's just an optional thing, right?
It's an optional thing. And I can already tell, like, for the people who are already asking, are you going to review Labo? No.
I don't know why you're skeptical about Labo being successful, because I know people are, I mean, who knows, I'll probably be eating my words in a few months, but people I think are going to eat this shit up. I mean, people have been going crazy for amiibos.
They might, but the problem is that this reeks of gimmicky. And when that happens with Nintendo, I always get worried, because other things that have reeked of gimmickiness, the Wii Fit, the Vitality sensor, Nintendo Labo, the game ARMS in and of itself reeked of gimmickiness to me. That's why I didn't get it. And I found extremely funny that our buddy Brinton made it his worst game of 2017. The problem is that when Nintendo goes into the gimmicky route, then we all worry about like, oh no, is this their intention with the Switch? Instead of bringing other awesome games to actually contend with their competitors. Does it look cool? Yes. I have to admit that. It does look cool. I'm not going to be getting a Labo anytime soon. That's the bottom line of it. Romney, where are you standing on Nintendo Labo? Have you even seen the trailer?
I haven't, but I've been seeing people discussing it, and I mean, it seems like a cool idea. I can't really agree with the price point per se of like $80 for a kit. I mean, I understand that, it comes with the software, which, the software is the important thing, but that just raises the question of why not just sell the game on its own and then sell these kits separately at a lower price point? Maybe even kind of create kind of a collector's sort of approach to it, where it's like, okay, you got all these, maybe go kind of the Disney Infinity route where you have the base software and then you get the specific mini games. You buy the kits, you enter the code into the software, triggering those mini games after you've built those peripherals, instead of having a $70 kit and an $80 kit and basically having what would be considered DLC as cardboard. I mean, it's a cool idea of like the whole DIY model of building your own peripherals. It's a neat idea. I'm just kind of skeptical of the price point and the way they're marketing it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the price point too, because I actually got into a few discussions with people on like, the pricing of it, because I think they initially announced with the trailer, like the first couple of kits and the games would come together and they would all be in that merged $80 price point. But then there was actually speculation with how they were talking that later stuff, maybe from third parties, wouldn't be that lucky, and you might be looking at like a $50 cardboard kit along with a $50 game, and that would be a problem because I don't see people doing $50 for cardboard.
No, I mean, for that price, you may as well have. I mean, yeah, true. People, again, if people are willing to buy the Snuggie, anything is possible.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you're dropping that kind of money, I'm just thinking, okay, unless it's like a Gundam model kit that Bandai is putting out as part of this, where you get to build a Gundam, I don't see myself paying that much money.
Which Adam would totally buy.
Damn it!
Yeah, but
don't you want to make your Switch into a giant robot, Adam?
You know what I'd prefer? A Gundam amiibo. That's probably what I would go for.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not talking a cardboard Gundam. I'm talking if it's like the high-quality plastic models that you get in those model kits. If it was like a high-quality model kit that interacted with the Switch, that I can see being a worthwhile investment, because you're getting a high-quality figurine that you can store because you built it, but it just so happens to interact with a game console.
See, and that just reminds me of, I can't remember the game that was announced at E3 last year that was something along that line, but it was going to be a spaceship game, and it worked on the Skylanders principle, which is like you had to buy separate parts as toys, and then you had to buy a specific controller dock, and it was Switch only. That was the weird part about this, is like you had to buy the dock, and then you had to get the toy, and already I looked at it and just like the price, it looked amazing, but then the price tag just kept going up and up and up in my head. And that's what's happening with Labo, is like, holy crap, that whole punching robot thing looked amazing. And then I just looked at the price tag and went, no, $80 for cardboard? Absolutely not.
So does that mean that with Nintendo Labo, the Switch may actually become a space shuttle?
Yes.
Damn it.
At last, we could.
Damn it. I was waiting.
Damn it, because now I'm going to have to get cardboard. I don't know. Part of me now wants to get cardboard just to make this a reality when I eventually get a Switch.
You're going to make your own. Yeah, this is going to be something Alex.
The problem is
he'll make his own DIY Switch that integrates into a space shuttle.
Oh, the problem is I'm such an awful craftsman. I can barely even tape up a regular cardboard box. You should have seen the mess of the box that I used to ship my Wii U when I sold it. That was a... So I'm a terrible craftsman. I'm a terrible at everything. What can I say?
Yeah. So, I mean, just right off the bat, obviously Romney ain't getting it because he doesn't even have a Switch. So, and I really do think, correct me if I'm wrong, Romney, Labo's a hard sell for you.
Yes, like at least for me specifically as a single guy who doesn't have kids. But I can see for my older brother, for example, if he had the kind of income that for his daughter, he would probably want to get it for her because he kind of tried to encourage the crafting side of things because she's a huge fan of things like Minecraft. So
yeah,
I can see for parents with a lot of disposable income of them being more inclined to get something like this to encourage that creativity. But even then, I get the feeling they're going to bristle at that price point.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with it too. Plus, I'm literally looking at it and going, this would be worthwhile if my kids were like 5 and 7 years old, respectively, because then at that point they know that the cardboard is flimsy and you can't just fling it all about or you'll break it, and therefore an $80 kit is destroyed. But the fact that one of my kids is a toddler, no, she does not understand that cardboard's flimsy yet.
Yeah.
So, Alex, what about you? Is Labo worth it?
Probably not for me because, like I said, I'm a terrible craftsman. But I still think this is either going to find a really strong niche. I'm waiting for the flood of YouTube videos of people making creative Labo whatever integrations. Yeah. Also, just to add on, cardboard's not only flimsy, it also catches the wind very well. So.
Yes.
Also, we actually. Well, so it means we'd be able to make the switch into a plane, not really a space shuttle, because we'd burn up in the atmosphere.
I'll tell you one thing that already worries me about this is like a lot of the designs are intended to have the controllers or the Joy-Cons dock into it. And again, cardboard flimsy, I can only imagine the amount of effort that it must take for a kid to swing their body and all of a sudden the Joy-Con goes right into the TV. We're going to have a whole other, because you guys remember that, right? The whole slew of Wiimotes landing in plasma screen TVs. That's why they had to have the damn strap.
Yeah.
There's as the Darwin Award Twitter account always points out, there's a story behind every warning.
Yes.
So I can't wait to see the really interesting illustrations that come out of it.
Dude, we'll bring them up because it'd be like, Nintendo, this is on you. And I think we should at least bring this up because I have a few people who have asked us to talk about it. I don't know how well this is going to go because we only have maybe one Mother fan amongst us. I can't call myself one just yet, but they did want us to talk about the Mother 3 book that is eventually coming out that is not coupled together with a Mother 3 release. Basically what's happening is, if people remember a couple of months ago, Scott Cawthon put out a book that was like a culmination of the Five Nights at Freddy's games and showed you like gave you a step into his mindset of like when he created the games and had all these little fun facts and everything like that. Nintendo's looking to do a book based on Mother 3 with that exact same thought in mind, except they're not going to release Mother 3 in the States. And they're even going to,
interesting.
And even worse, to make this worse for people, they're going to cover the fact that they've trolled people for years on Mother 3 never coming to the States. They're going to add that in there just to piss people off. So at that point, I mean, I'm thinking Romney, you're a Mother fan, are you not?
Not entirely. I've been interested in the Mother series. I started Mother 1, and I downloaded Earthbound to my 3DS, but I haven't really started there. I'm actually trying to look up what book is being mentioned, since all I'm seeing is part of a fan campaign.
Yeah, let me see if I can actually grab it, because it was I know IGN covered it, but yeah, it was basically going to be like a fan booklet covering Mother 3 and the long struggle to get it to US shores. And yeah, the fact that it's not like, this is not coming with an announcement that it's coming to US shores. This is just cataloging the fact that they did that and that they'll troll people for years.
Well, to be fair, looking at this, it doesn't look like this is actually sanctioned by Nintendo. This looks like it is a fan effort. So there, I don't find it nearly as odd. It is merely, well, the mother fan base trying to show Nintendo that there is an audience for this series, and that at the very least, we should get the last of the trilogy now that we've had the first 2 games released in the States.
Yeah, if it's a fan effort, then I'm absolutely with you on the matter. But the last one that I read was that it was going to be Nintendo releasing it. Here's the article. So let me link this over to you guys, and
I just did.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if it's a fan deal, I had been given the impression it was Nintendo that was going to be doing this. No, if it's a fan deal, fine. I'm absolutely for that. Because the fans need to continue this effort to get Mother 3 to US shores. If it's Nintendo, you know better.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like it is just an effort on part of a bunch of Mother fans. One of several. I remember there was a Rock Candy campaign where a bunch of musicians got together, did a bunch of covers of various songs from across the franchise, and then sent those CDs to Nintendo to show how strong the fan base is. And so this seems like yet another very well thought out, very intense effort to try to convince Nintendo that, hey, there's a market for it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, more power to them. I don't think it's going to convince Nintendo at all, given how often Reggie has teased us about it. But good on you for trying.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm out in the boonies saying this, but I think the only thing that could convince people is if they wanted to do like a Satoru Iwata homage, and then they decided, okay, yeah, because I know Iwata pushed to bring it to US shores. So at that point, maybe just saying, well, we love Iwata-san, and in honor of his death, the 10-year anniversary of his death, we'll finally bring Mother 3. But that's the only way I see it happening, because if it's not out by now, it ain't coming.
Well, yeah, and even by that token, I really doubt it, because although he pushed for it, it doesn't really have as much an attachment to the legacy of Satoru Iwata as, well, other items that have been released, like the golf game that was hidden on the Switch and a few other things. Honestly, again, at this point, the chances of it coming out are pretty slim to none at this point, especially since Shigesato Itoi has made it clear that the story is done and he's not really going to be returning to it. And it's an admirable effort, but it's going to fall on deaf ears, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, so not really a whole lot else to cover in the Nintendo talk. We look forward to seeing what Labo actually brings out, because I think it's due this year. We'll start getting the first Labo kits this year. Moving on into the next story. So we covered the Game Awards that happened just at the end of the year, and it just so happens that the DICE Awards for 2018, which is going to cover the 2017 games, that's just the way the DICE Awards works. The nominees are in, and we actually have a whopping 10 nominations for Horizon Zero Dawn. Yay! This does not mean they won, so I'm not that excited. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has got a total of 6 nominations, while Cuphead, Uncharted The Lost Legacy, and Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice each garnered 5. So let's go over these really quick. So we have Outstanding Achievement in Animation, Cuphead, For Honor. I'm trying to think, did For Honor even get a mention in the Game Awards?
I'm not really sure.
I don't think it did. But yeah, Cuphead, For Honor, Hellblade, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction is where you start seeing a lot of them contending with each other, with Breath of the Wild being in that instead of Uncharted. Achievement in Character is probably a little bit better of a diverse casting than the Game Awards did have, because you have Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, you have Senua from Hellblade, Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. It's not necessarily judging the actors, it's judging the characters. Aiden Versio from Battlefront 2, and Chloe Frazier. Music adaptation, original music composition blows my mind because Call of Duty's in it. Call of Duty World War II is in there for musical composition, but it is contending with Horizon, Cuphead, and Rhyme, so it's going to lose. unless, Activision paid the money. Sound design, we have Destiny 2, Injustice 2, Battlefront 2, Mario Odyssey, Uncharted Legacy. I'm looking for game of the year. So action game of the year, we have Call of Duty, Cuphead, Destiny 2, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Oh, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about that damn game. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. Adventure game of the year, Assassin's Creed Origins, Horizon Zero Dawn, Super Mario Odyssey. This is the only one that I'm seeing in these that Horizon and Legend of Zelda are contending against each other, along with Mario. Holy crap. Fighting game of the year, not a whole lot to go into here. I have a feeling it's either going to go to Injustice 2 or Marvel. Well, Tekken 7 could probably take it. I know a lot of people love Tekken 7.
Well, yeah, it's especially given the amount of praise it's been getting and the amount of backlash that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has gotten. I put my money on either Injustice or Tekken between the two.
Yeah. But the ones that people actually care about, so for handheld game of the year, we have Dragon Quest VIII. So this is the remake of it. Etrian Odyssey 5. Yeah,
I'm wary about the fact that, because unlike, say, Shadows of Valentia, which is also on that list, I don't really feel like they should be including a port of a game in that list. Because Shadows of Valentia is a full-on.
I honestly feel like that deserves its own category, because remasters are becoming a thing more regularly now.
Yeah, that should be a separate thing, remastered game of the year, because Dragon Quest VIII, they didn't really remake it. It literally, they've been able to port the game to cell phones, so it's not really of all the things in the list, that's the one I'm kind of eh.
So yeah, we've got Dragon Quest VIII, Etrian Odyssey 5, Beyond the Myth, Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, Metroid Samus Returns, and Monster Hunter Stories. Oh, I'm going with Metroid, but I could see Monster Hunter fans getting what they want on this one. Mobile game of the year, we have Cat Quest, Fire Emblem Heroes, Gorogoa, Monument Valley 2, and Splitter Critters. And game of the year, the contenders are Cuphead, Horizon Zero Dawn, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Super Mario Odyssey, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So Hellblade didn't even make the cut for Game of the Year, which it did for Game Awards. Holy crap. So, and we've only kind of skimmed on a lot of the award nominations that can happen here, but who do we see from the DICE Awards perspective actually walking away with Game of the Year?
Knowing the history of... It's a tough call, given that we've got 2 Nintendo titles in the listing. But honestly, I think the biggest contenders are probably going to be between Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. Yeah. I guess it just depends how... the voting panel at DICE, it just depends how many people on that panel are Nintendo fanboys or fangirls.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly think it's going to be a dead heat between Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. I think Cuphead and Mario Odyssey will have good showings in other categories, but I think it's either going to be Horizon or Legend of Zelda that takes Game of the Year for the DICE Awards. And here's the thing, the DICE Awards doesn't necessarily go along the same lines as the Game Awards. I've seen them do it once or twice, but sometimes they go the opposite direction. So we could actually see where the Game Awards picked Breath of the Wild, the DICE Awards might pick Horizon Zero Dawn for that. So for those who are interested, the DICE Awards will be held on February 22nd at 8 p.m. or 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And it'll be streamed at various places, so you can check that out. But it will be interesting to see a lot of these, because a lot of these categories have games I wouldn't consider right off the top of my head. But yeah, they deserve to get their own acknowledgement. I mean, for crying out loud, we got in the strategy one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle win an award from the Game Awards?
I know it was at least nominated.
It was nominated. It's nominated again, except it's going to go head to head with XCOM. No, that's right. Because we were dumbfounded that XCOM lost to Mario Rabbids. Because again, it's XCOM, and they're going head to head again. Except now you can add in Halo Wars 2, Endless Space 2, and Total War Warhammer 2.
Oh yeah, it did win. Game Awards nominated for Best Family Game, won for Best Strategy Game.
Mm-hmm. And Family Game of the Year is way different on the DICE Awards. Drop Mix, Gnog, Just Dance 2018, SingStar Celebration, and Snipper Clips.
People are still playing Just Dance, really?
Yeah,
Didn't Rhythm
dude,
Games die like 10 years
feature
ago?
of the Ubisoft event every year.
It's a good workout. I've tried it, so that's kind of the main reason why people play it. It's a good workout.
I hate to be that guy, but it is kind of fun. So if you get the right song combinations, it's kind of fun. If you get nothing but like insert pop queen stuff all over the place, then it's not. Unless you like having to do Lady Gaga because she's the only one that has slow dance movements. I'm just saying. But yeah, there you go. That is the DICE Awards. We look forward to reporting the results of it later on this year, and hopefully, at least in my humble opinion, Horizon Zero Dawn gets the spotlight that the Game Awards robbed from it. So I'm just saying that for the record. Moving on into the next story, unless you guys have other thoughts on the DICE Awards. You've been kind of quiet on it, Alex.
I really don't have a ton to say because I don't know a whole lot about the DICE Awards, to be honest. Like
where I would say that the Game Awards is more of a hype thing. DICE Awards is more of a technical thing. So because the way that I understand the way the DICE Awards works is that it's fellow gaming reps voting in that pool.
Yeah, that's the way I can see the Game Awards is if I want to kind of predict the winner, I follow the hype train there or the brand revenue.
So moving on into the next story, this is one that was a little surprising, came across us via a listener. There is apparently a new Fable game in development by Playground Games. I did not even know that Microsoft had sold off Fable. I thought they were just going to keep it and keep it in development hell.
Well, I'm sure that they kept it, but I know they sold off Lionhead.
Oh, they sold off Lionhead? Okay, then maybe that makes sense. So Playground Games might actually be able to do it. They are the studios behind the Forza Horizon series, and they are said to be developing a new Fable game. And it gets even better because Microsoft is making a significant investment, though development is still in early days. Oh boy. You never like hearing that right off the bat. If they're already doling out a lot of cash and it's in conceptual period.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, on the upside, we won't have Peter Molyneux making promises he can't possibly keep with the game.
Exactly.
Ooh.
So already, if people have never played a Fable game, I mean, we're already talking about a significant single player driven experience entirely on player choice. I like the worry that I have off the top of my head, and you guys can bring kind of your nightmare scenario to it, is like this gets brought to E3 and it's Fable Online. It's like Fable MMO.
Well, I remember the last one they were working on before Lionhead closed was basically a Fable cooperative game. So
yeah,
it was technically more akin to MOBA. So wouldn't really surprise me. One of those, I mean, I could see it. It's not the worst world. Like, Albion is an okay location that I think an MMO could work because it pretty much is a parody of generic RPG worlds anyway. So,
Oh, this doesn't help me, at least. Apparently, this new Fable is reportedly influenced by the success of Horizon Zero Dawn. So Horizon is actually inspiring this.
So it'll be Fable Open World Edition.
Well, but Fable was
more so than it already was.
World.
Okay, I don't know anything about Fable, so that was a guess.
Yeah, Fable was open world, I want to say. Like, I haven't played all the games, but it was open world driven.
Yeah,
and
Fable pretty much
driven.
Yeah, Fable, I mean, it has like a story that you follow through, but mechanically it very much is a sandbox.
Yeah, because that's what Lionhead loved making, was sandbox games. And unfortunately, they didn't do very well with it. And already, like, if you go later on into the IGN article about it, it looks like they reached out to a few former Lionhead devs, and they're all having mixed feelings about whether or not to bring it in. On the other hand, it is a little curious to get rid of the team that is uniquely expert in making Fable. Yeah, because they're not working on it. The Forza people are. Going from cars to RPGs.
I mean, unless they decide to basically copy Final Fantasy 15 and somehow make a Fable game that involves cars somehow.
I haven't even finished that game, but yeah, that car is way too involved. So,
I mean, honestly, I could see it if it's like if it's basically a Fable style game but set in like the Mad Max universe or something. I could see it.
So at this point, like, I've played a few Fable games. I wouldn't consider myself a fan. So to say like I would be watching this consistently to see if there are any developments on it. Maybe if E3 gets an announcement on it, I wouldn't care, honestly. What about you, Romney? Would you care about it?
I want to see at least a few trailers first. I haven't played the original, but I did play a little bit of 2, and I've beaten 3.
Okay.
And 3 out of all of them, I'd say, is the best because it has the least, I guess, because it did away with a lot of the problems that 1 and 2 have, like the fact of, oh, you go up 5 levels and you go from looking like a 20-year-old to a 60-year-old for no reason.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Fable 3 had such a limited time frame, it actually made it a much more enjoyable experience instead of them trying to put in a bunch of elements that weren't necessary. So I'm open to the idea, but I'm going to hold off any real judgment until I actually see a trailer, until I get an indication of what it is they're actually planning on doing with the property. Because it's not like they're trying to readapt Zelda into something it isn't. Albion is not the most original concept. It's not the most original world. It's basically a parody of every other fantasy world we've seen.
Yeah, it's insert fantasy world here kind of thing. There's not really like Albion is very similar to other fantasy-based worlds that people might have seen out there. I looked at Albion the first time and went, this is Nosgoth from Legacy of Kain, and Legacy of Kain's an action game. So it's like, holy crap. Yeah, you can make these comparisons because it's insert fantasy world here.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that they could screw it up is if they lose that sense of humor, because that's kind of the main draw of Fable is kind of that winging self-awareness. The fact that it's not afraid to make fun of itself, because that's what makes Fable enjoyable, is because that, yeah, it has an interesting story, but it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Exactly. Any thoughts that you have on this one, Alex? Like, is this something you haven't played Fable? So is this going to be the one that brings you in?
Probably not, because I have no idea if it would be connected at all to the other entries in the franchise, because I don't know if there's going to be reliance on continuity or not. It's that
I don't want to say any of them have been connected. Maybe 1 and 2, but 3 is like a major time skip.
Sort of. They still have kind of like a through line where you're still connected, because the main character of 3 is it's very much it's the classic Dragon Quest thing where, oh, the main characters in this thing are a direct descendant of the hero from the previous game. And so, but even then, it's not like a strong, hard, oh, you have to play one to understand the other. Between 2 and 3, the only real connection you have is the character of Reaver. But I never really met Reaver in 2, and 3 fills you in on who he is pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and move on into the next story here. So we'll obviously report on new Fable stuff if we get it. But in case you guys didn't know, the Overwatch League happened last week. We know because our buddy Brenton was looking very, very, very forward to that. And I think he reached out to me on Twitter, and I think he reached out to our Facebook group, just basically saying like, holy crap, where can you actually watch the Overwatch League? So the Overwatch League happened last week. They had their first bout and had great reception for it because they had 10 million viewers in their first week of operation. Holy crap, that's a lot considering MLG. So viewership details have been revealed that the opening day had an average audience per minute of 408,000, settling at 280,000 for the whole of the opening week. So these are already good numbers for the Overwatch League. Where the problem is like there weren't a whole lot of naysayers. So the Overwatch League, a lot of people were looking forward to it because if anybody can get the MLG covered and covered right, then Blizzard can. But people did actually want us to talk about it. Did any of us actually watch the match? I caught a little bit after, so I was a Johnny come lately to the match.
I didn't even know about it. I didn't know anything was going on, but I don't play Overwatch.
This is one of those things where we needed Brinton here because Brinton watched it from minute one. I know he did.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Alex. I didn't know it was a thing, and I also do not play Overwatch, so
yeah. So it was a match between the peak concurrent audience on Twitch hit 437,000 during the match between Dallas Fuel and the Seoul Dynasty. So you actually have teams that are US based as well as Canadian based, and even all the way out in Japan and South Korea that do take part in the Overwatch League. So I caught it a little bit later than everybody else did, and it was good. It was a good match overall, but don't really have much else to say on the matter. I like the fact that the Overwatch League is doing well because, well, considering how many D-bags actually exist over at ESPN, I want to make it so that eventually ESPN has to cover this crap too. Just to see how many of their people quit. I'm not covering them video games. That's not sports.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how quick people will change their tune when their paycheck's on the line.
Well, it's just, I still get, this story gets brought to me I don't know how many times, and I don't ever get to forget it. It's the one guy who basically said he'd rather hang himself than cover video games on ESPN. And at that point, I have to look at my buddy David Vito, who I run another podcast with, and go, we'd cover it, right? Yeah, we'd cover it. We'll take your job. We'll take your money. We don't have a problem with that at all. If you're not willing to go do it, have fun going to hang yourself because we're going to go and earn your money and earn your keep covering this MLG event. That got morbid. I apologize, but the bottom line is
well,
it's your job. And if sports is leading that way, you cover it.
Oh, who knows? Now that Disney owns ESPN.
Yeah. Ooh, that actually might be fun. So there isn't a whole lot to be able to talk. Like if we had our buddy Brinton here, we could go into a little bit more detail on the matter, but there's not a whole lot there. Congratulations to Blizzard and to the Overwatch League for being able to get 10 million solid views in that first week. I already know that people are excited for the next week and for how the overall tournament or the overall structure of the Overwatch League is going to work. So congrats, good on you. And I don't even know who the victor was, honestly. So I'll have to go finish the match and then I can tell you. But I don't know. So moving on, unless you guys have stuff to add, there's only one story left to cover. And this one did catch my eye and was a little worrisome. So people might remember that in June, we have Solo, a Star Wars story. This is one of the first Star Wars movies where we had kerfuffle because Phil Lord and Chris Miller were supposed to direct it, and then eventually Ron Howard got brought in after they were fired. And Disney already is not looking at Solo optimistically. They actually are expecting Solo to bomb. That's surprising considering that they want to get the hype train behind these movies, but yes, they've actually been quoted in an article that we're reading from Screen Geek. Let's see, where's the actual quote on the matter?
I have it. It's
go ahead.
A source close to the film's production has informed us, the article anyway, the site hosting this article, Disney is bracing themselves for the Han Solo movie to bomb. They were worried about it before all the Last Jedi controversy, but now they're essentially writing Solo off. The lead actor, Alden Ehrenreich, can't act. Well, they had a dialogue coach on hand for all of his scenes. On top of that, the script is unworkable. It's going to be a car crash.
Yeah, that's a little surprising considering you brought in Ron Howard to fix it.
Yeah, I think the reason Disney's really bracing themselves is because the fact that there's been so much behind the scenes trouble and it's been public, that's naturally going to color people's perceptions going into the film. I mean, it colored our perceptions going in when we went to review the Attack on Titan movies because we all knew what went on behind the scenes. And speaking for myself, I know it did color my perceptions a little bit. And so Disney knows, hey, people going in are going to know that there was a lot of trouble behind the scenes, and they're probably going to notice that when the film comes out. So I'm guessing they're basically just cutting their losses and acknowledging, yeah, this is probably going to make fans more angry, so let's not delude ourselves any further.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're covering their bases because of the kerfuffle that they've already had with this film. It does make me worried because I was looking forward to seeing Alden Ehrenreich, I think is how you say his name, play Han Solo. So just to see if he can actually pull it off. But already if Disney and if Disney's already not backing this and giving it the full support that it, let's just say like episode 8 got, it's very difficult to actually give that yourself and actually get excited for it. I don't know that, like, after hearing this stuff, where are you guys at with it? Are you still even remotely interested in seeing it?
I'm curious, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much of a car crash this is going to be, because it's
okay. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah,
yeah.
This will either be okay, or this will indeed be a giant flaming wreck.
I guess we'll really know whether or not the old girl can hold together.
I guess the first question that we got to ask is, like, when we actually all see it, are we all going to be watching Harrison Ford's Twitter just to see what he thought of it?
Honestly, I don't think Harrison Ford's going to even bother with it, because he's made it clear he's pretty much just done with Star Wars. So he's probably just like, yeah, sure, whatever. You do what you want. I'm going to just go fly my planes again.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he retired? Somebody actually told me he had announced his retirement after episode 7.
Oh, he was in Blade Runner, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was in Blade Runner, so maybe he announced it after 2049.
I don't know.
Like, I think he's still acting, but he's made it clear he's done with Han Solo. Like, he's made that much abundantly clear.
Yeah, I'm still gonna watch his Twitter. I need to know now, like, what he thinks of Solo, and like, this is the worst thing ever for my legacy, and it doesn't even affect him. It's somebody else trying to be Han Solo.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I mean, honestly, in my mind, I'm just thinking, okay, there's one way they could salvage this if they somehow have it end with that weird alternate comic where you basically have Han crash on Earth, and then you have Indiana Jones finding the wrecked Falcon.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I read somewhere that we actually did have a concept script out that was going to tell us the plot. I didn't read it. Did any of you guys?
Not really.
News to me.
I may need to find it just to see if maybe Alex wants to read it or whatever. Like, the premise that I at least got from the headline was that it was going to be an underworld thing. Like, they were going to take on the Hutts or something like that.
Well, yeah, and especially when you consider that they've even had to replace other actors over the midst of the reshoots. Looking on in the article, they mentioned how actor Michael K. Williams was dropped from the movie and replaced by Paul Bettany, and even Bettany disclosed that Ron Howard had actually been forced to do a lot more reshoots than he initially signed on for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this film, it's going to be a train wreck. It's very much one of those cases of, I guess the real question is Disney just hoping that they're going to shoot first and kill it before it has the chance?
Han Solo will be shot first.
So
you're saying the Han Solo movie shot first and it shot itself?
Yeah. I mean, alternately, what they could also do is that they build up the hype that it's going to be a Han Solo movie, and then within the first few seconds, it suddenly shifts focus to Greedo. Or even better, you have the opening shot be on Greedo, so that they shot Greedo first.
Yeah, pretty much. All right.
Howard did make that joke, actually. So, hey, I shot Greedo first. So, considering we don't even have a trailer for this yet, and this movie's supposed to be out in like 3 months.
I'm surprised we don't even have a trailer for Solo. Weren't we supposed to get one by the holidays? I could have sworn we had Rogue One trailers like the year before.
Well, given the behind-the-scenes kerfuffles, they've probably had to backpedal, and given that they're expecting it to bomb, they've probably slashed the marketing budget to hell, so...
Yeah, so... All right, well, unfortunately, that's all the stories that we've got tonight, and I think that's about as positive as we can actually get, considering the whole YouTube thing that we've been dealing with all week, but hopefully these stories that we've been able to give you guys at least got a giggle out of you. Or at least got you looking forward to other things aside from YouTube kerfuffles. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for the evening. If people want to get a hold of us and ask us questions on either the YouTube situation, how we understand it, or our feelings and viewpoints on the various other stories that we covered tonight, Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do they do that with you?
Well, you can find me here on YouTube. Shadow Blizzard 3000 is my channel, and anime content is what I usually make, and the occasional Let's Play here and there. And if you always want to be up to speed on when I put up a new video, you can follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort. This week I did put up 2 videos, as I mentioned. I put up a top 10 list of 10 more favorite anime of mine, and I put up some pre-coverage of Crunchyroll's Anime Awards. So check those out.
All right. And Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can always find me via Studio Ghost Utah. That is my handle both on YouTube and on Facebook. So literally type in either website at Studio Ghost Utah after the slash, and that is where you will find my 2 main places where I'll be hosting videos on YouTube and Facebook. And I'm also on Twitter at Romney Reviews. Still working on the outro. It's going to take a little bit of time. But for some of you who were watching the live stream and saw the funny little image that I shared earlier, it ties into this week's Romney's recommendation, which is an anime that actually came out this new season called Pop Team Epic. It is a weird, bizarre series, but it is probably the funniest series I've seen in quite some time. It's more or less like Robot Chicken on crack, except it goes even further as it satirizes video games, movies, but it also satirizes the anime industry as a whole. It is surreal, and the funny gimmick is that the episodes more or less play twice, but on the second run-through of the episodes, the voices are different for the 2 main characters, Pupko and Pipimi, and you actually see different versions of the jokes from the episode, and sometimes the versions are weaker. In the case of the second episode, the jokes on the second run-through are actually a lot funnier. So that's this week's Romney's recommendation, Pop Team Epic, available now on Crunchyroll, with the English dub debuting from Funimation on Monday, January 22nd.
All right. And if people want to get a hold of me, the best ways to be able to do so for my YouTube channel are at Drac2326 on YouTube or on Twitter, Drac2326 on YouTube as well. But that's where you guys are at. So please check out my videos and consider whether or not to like, comment, or subscribe and all that fun stuff. Because now I have to advertise that stuff now. But yeah, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Drac2326, and you can also look up my YouTube channel on Facebook at DracLP and get up to the updates on everything that's coming out for the channel. And for those who are worried about the schedule, it's not really changing. It might lessen a little bit because of the new YouTube stuff. As for the podcast itself, the first thing that we would really appreciate that you guys go and do is support our RSS feed directly, which is geekyweek.podomatic.com. That's where the RSS feed is. That's where you can get access to podcasts the second that they're updated, or you can look us up on iTunes and Google Play for Android users and be able to download directly there. You can also follow the podcast on social media under the exact same heading. So Geeky NRO for both Facebook and Twitter, and get up to the minute information when we're going live, the stuff that we're going to be covering. All of that fun stuff will be coming to you guys very soon, as well as being able to feature some of the content that these guys create and get it into you guys' hands that much quicker. So with that, is that all the play? Oh, yes. And then also, if you want to submit stories to us or give us feedback on the podcast, you can do so at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. So thank you guys so much. And especially thank you to the live chat who joined us and had to deal with some of the depressing dialogue and even ask questions to us that we maybe couldn't answer right off the top of our heads or anything like that. But we'll work with you guys if you reach out to us on Twitter on that. But thank you for continuing to show your support by either coming here live or being able to support us on iTunes, all of that. We really do appreciate it, especially when 2018 just keeps seeming to get more and more difficult to try and get things off the ground. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us. So thank you so much for showing up and for continuing to contribute to the podcast and showing your love for it. And we will be back next week, but I'm just going to go ahead and warn people in advance. The following week, we probably will not be doing a live stream on February 2nd. And the simple reason being, holy crap, there's just so much stuff going on for people that I think we're just going to go ahead and call it there so that people can do weddings and all that. Because I think Romney's got a wedding. I've got podcasting summit to go to, all that stuff. So we'll be back next week, but the following week, we'll be taking that week off. So for next week, for me, for Romney, and for Alex, we'll be seeing you guys next time for more geek news, reviews, and opinions.